Thanks for watching Endgame Economics. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. It's completely free for you, and it helps us continue making more videos like this.
All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at the quiet, purely mathematical mechanics that are actively hollowing out the South African dream. You know, we hear a ton of noise out there about political soap operas and the daily exchange rate, but the real assassin of middle-class wealth is actually way stealthier than that. It is completely systemic, it's deeply structural, and it is entirely driven by the numbers.
So, ask yourself this. Why does a 60,000 Rand salary leave you functionally broke today? I mean, think back. Just a decade ago, earning 60K a month basically made you suburban royalty, right? You had the nice home, 2 cars in the driveway, annual holidays, the whole shebang. But today, you are very likely sitting in the dark, sweating over whether a 45 Rand cappuccino is a luxury you can actually afford. The numbers simply do not stretch the way they used to.
And the answer to why that's happening lies right here in this absolutely staggering figure from National Debt Advisors. 74% of take-home pay is being spent just servicing debt. Think about that. This is the harsh, everyday reality for people earning what used to be a very comfortable 50,000 Rand a month heading into 2026. The vast majority of your money is immediately swallowed whole by bonds, car payments, and personal loans, literally before you've even bought a single bag of groceries.
Okay, so here is our roadmap for today, to decode all these complex, systemic forces. We are going to look at 1. The middle-class squeeze. 2. Privatizing your own survival. 3. The compounding debt trap. 4. A vanishing tax base. And finally, 5. Surviving the new reality.
Starting right off with Section 1, the middle-class squeeze, and the actual mechanics of this decline.
Just look at the stark contrast here between the 2016 dream and the 2026 reality. The underlying data behind this shift is honestly absolutely devastating. Over the last 9 years, while inflation shot up by a massive 49%, actual take-home pay, well, that only increased by a pathetic 2%, meaning you are left with 47% less disposable income than you had just a few years ago. You aren't doing anything wrong here. The math has simply turned against you.
Moving on to Section 2, privatizing your own survival and the hidden infrastructure cost.
We like to call this the dual tax syndrome. It's essentially when you pay your state income taxes for civilization's absolute baselines, safe roads, functional hospitals, good schools, but then you have to turn around and pay private companies for those exact same things because the state infrastructure has failed. So the absolute crucial point to understand here is that private medical aid, armed security response, independent school fees, these aren't luxury choices anymore. They are desperate bids for basic security. You're basically forced to buy back the exact services you just paid the government to provide.
And this brings us to a really fascinating but super painful concept, the utility death spiral. See, when middle-class customers go off-grid with solar panels to escape all those power cuts, they inadvertently completely break the municipal revenue model. By May 2026, Eskom actually celebrated 365 days without load shedding. But because the middle class bought all those inverters and broke their business model, municipalities had to fundamentally change how they bill you just to protect their own revenue. Just check out this massive number as a perfect example. A 40% surge in Cape Town's fixed electricity capacity charge. You are essentially paying an aggressively hiked fee simply for the privilege of having a wire connected to your house, regardless of whether you actually use the power or not. You are literally being penalized for achieving energy independence because the monopoly still has to cover its fixed costs somehow.
All right, let's jump to Section 3, the compounding debt trap, touching on monetary policy and credit. The sheer mathematical impossibility of 2026 becomes glaringly obvious when we compare basic expenses over just a 4-year period. Look at this. Groceries jumped by 38%. Electricity spiked by 67%. But your corporate salary? That only grew by 22%. You simply cannot cut your way to prosperity when the baseline cost of mere existence heavily outpaces your net income growth. It's why we see so many people bridging this gap with credit cards just to afford groceries by the 3rd week of the month.
And the catch is, relying on credit has literally never been more punishing, all because of the interest rate trap. Prime lending jumped from 7% in 2021 to 10.25% in 2026. To put that into perspective, a standard 1.8 million rand bond repayment swelled by almost 4,000 rand a single month. The South African Reserve Bank's ongoing fight to keep inflation at 3% means holding rates higher for longer. Mechanically, this is acting as a silent, massive wealth transfer straight from the indebted middle class directly to the banking sector, all under the banner of protecting the national currency.
And hey, that exact same pressure is sitting right out in your driveway. To afford all this imported inflation and a weak rand, the middle class is relying on some highly toxic financial engineering to buy standard commuter cars that can now easily cost up to 550,000 rand. The absolute most destructive tool here? The balloon payment. It defers a huge chunk of the purchase price to the very end of your loan, which virtually guarantees permanent negative equity.
And that feeds directly into an inescapable cycle we call the auto loan carousel. Here's how it goes. You buy a car with a 72-month loan and a massive 40% balloon payment. You pay interest for 6 full years, but you barely even touch the principal amount. Then, at the end, surprise, you can't afford the giant lump sum, so what do? You roll that leftover debt into a brand new loan for another car. This toxic life cycle guarantees you are essentially just renting a depreciating piece of metal from the bank while you take on absolutely all the financial risk. Which leads us to a very uncomfortable question. When the top earners actually immigrate, how does the government make up the billions of rands in tax shortfalls? This brings us to the really terrifying math behind why your friends packing their bags for Perth or London is actually becoming your direct financial problem.
Which brings us nicely to Section 4, a vanishing tax base, exploring demographics and taxation.
The crucial point here is crystal clear when you look at this chart. Out of 64 million people in the country, a microscopic sliver of the population, literally just 1.5 to 2 million taxpayers, carries 80% of all personal income tax. They are single-handedly carrying the entire social welfare state of a developing nation on their backs. So when a senior professional leaves the country, they yank a massive chunk of recurring revenue right out of the treasury. And how exactly does the state recover all that lost money? Through something called bracket creep, or fiscal drag. Basically, when the government deliberately fails to fully adjust the tax brackets for inflation, your standard purely inflationary salary raise automatically pushes you into a higher tax tier. The government doesn't even need to pass a new, unpopular tax law. They just use this invisible mechanic to quietly extract tens of billions of extra rands from the middle-class folks who decide to stay behind. Now, on top of those state taxes, there's also the phantom inheritance, which is widely known as black tax. Think of this as the ultimate privatization of the social welfare state. Up to 70% of first-generation working Black professionals financially support their extended families. Because we're dealing with a massive 33% unemployment rate, this deeply human system of Ubuntu mechanically prevents the new middle class from acquiring middle-class wealth or compounding any generational capital. You are effectively absorbing the inflation shocks for 4 or 5 other human beings on a single corporate salary. It forces wealth to cascade upwards to the older generations rather than downwards to the next.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, surviving the new reality and protecting your financial future.
So how do we actually survive in this 2026 economy? Well, it absolutely requires a ruthless shift in how you view status. You need to radically downsize your footprint to lower those fixed utility charges we talked about, drive older, paid-off vehicles, and, for goodness sake, avoid balloon payments entirely. You want to build a zero-debt balance sheet. Why? Because if you owe the bank absolutely nothing, the Reserve Bank's interest rate hikes simply cannot touch you.
The core takeaway from our explainer today is this. The middle class isn't dying. It is just being forced to adapt. The old South African dream, the massive house, the 2 brand new cars, that was built under completely different global conditions, and it is functionally dead today. Trying to live that 2010 lifestyle right now will literally drive you into ruin. The illusion of wealth is being stripped away, leaving only the cold, hard, mathematical reality behind. I want to leave you with a real provocative question to think about. What is the one major lifestyle downgrade you have had to make over the last 3 years just to survive? Really think about it and let me know your answers, because understanding this data and sharing our real-world experiences helps all of us realize that we really aren't facing this squeeze alone. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay focused and keep that balance sheet clean.